My mother didn't even blink when she said it. We were standing in the middle of the sprawling, marble-floored lobby of our family's newest crown jewel, the Vance Boutique Hotel. The air was thick with the cloying scent of expensive lilies and the sharp, clinical smell of fresh bleach. Outside, the Seattle rain was blurring the skyline into a smudge of gray and gold, but inside, everything was polished to a terrifying brilliance. My brother Leo was a few feet away, leaning against a mahogany pillar, posing for a local news crew with that practiced, effortless grin of his. He was adjusting his designer tie, the silk shimmering under the amber glow of the chandeliers, while my parents beamed at him like he was a miracle they'd personally conjured from the ether. When I finally caught my mother's eye and tried to whisper that the catering staff hadn't received their wire transfers and that the hotel's liquor license was still technically tied to my personal social security number, she didn't even stop smiling for the cameras. She just leaned in, her perfume, something floral and expensive, choking the air between us, and hissed, "Nora, honey, don't be so dramatic. Leo is the face of this business. Nora, he's the vision. He's the one who brings in the investors. You're just the help. Now go make sure the hors d'oeuvres are warm and stay out of the shots. You're ruining the aesthetic." The words hit so hard, the room actually felt like it tilted on its axis. I looked at my father, expecting him to at least acknowledge the 10 years of 80-hour weeks I'd put in to make this night possible, but he was too busy straightening the lapel of Leo's tuxedo. He wouldn't even meet my eyes. That was the moment I realized that in the Vance family, my silence wasn't just a virtue. It was my erasure. My name is Nora Vance, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the quiet one. In a family that treats life like a stage and every dinner like a press conference, I was the stagehand. I was the one who learned early on that silence keeps a fragile peace, and peace was the only thing I felt responsible for protecting. On paper, my life looked steady. I worked as the lead operations manager and financial analyst for our family's hospitality group. I lived in a world of numbers, deadlines, and systems that made sense. There's a calmness in a balanced spreadsheet that real life has never offered me. My days followed predictable, grueling rhythms, the echo of delivery trucks at the warehouse at 5 a.m., the hum of the office cooling fans, and the rhythmic click of my keyboard as I moved millions of dollars around to keep my family's vision from collapsing under the weight of their own egos. Growing up, my brother Leo was the star. He was the golden child who won debate trophies he didn't study for and earned a law degree he barely used before walking into a C-suite office my parents built for him. I, on the other hand, was the one who paid her own way through college by working 2 jobs, the one who never asked for help, and the one who stayed up until 3 a.m. fixing the accounting errors Leo made while he was out networking at country clubs. But as I stood in that lobby, watching my parents lift Leo's accomplishments like holy offerings while I was told I was the help, something inside me snapped. It wasn't a loud break. It was a cold, quiet realization that I had been building a house for people who wouldn't even give me a seat at the table. Before I tell you how I handed over the keys and watched their empire turn to dust, I have to ask, where are you listening from tonight? It helps to know there are people out there who have lived in the shadow of a golden child, people who have been the invisible engine for someone else's glory. Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one. The grand opening gala was supposed to be the pinnacle of our family's success. For months, my mother had been planning a leadership transition ceremony. I had foolishly assumed that my decade of sacrificing my own graduate studies, my down payment for a home, and my personal life, would finally be acknowledged. I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd get a title that reflected the fact that I actually ran the company. Instead, the night felt like a funeral for my own identity. The guest list was a who's who of the Pacific Northwest elite, Men in tailored suits and women in silk gowns sipped champagne that I had personally sourced and negotiated the price for. My sister-in-law was walking around in a necklace that cost more than my car, a car I knew she'd bought using the company's marketing fund, which I'd been quietly replenishing with my own bonuses just to keep us out of the red. Halfway through the dinner, my father took the microphone. The room went quiet, the only sound the clinking of silverware on fine china. "We are here," he began, his voice booming with a pride I had never felt directed toward me, "to honor the man whose vision made this hotel a reality, our CEO, the future of the Vance Group, our son Leo." The room erupted. People stood up, whistling and cheering. Cameras flashed as my parents presented Leo with a symbolic, oversized golden key. Leo took it with a smirk that felt like a slap. He looked right at me, tucked in the corner by the service kitchen, and winked. It was the same wink he used when we were kids after he'd broken a vase and told Mom I did it. It was the wink of a man who knew he could take whatever he wanted because no one would ever stop him. I was standing there, holding a folder. Inside that folder weren't just the catering invoices. It was the silent autobiography of my life's work. It contained the vendor contracts I had signed in my name because our company credit was too damaged by Leo's spending. It contained the liquor license, the occupancy permits, and the personal guarantees for the construction loans. My mother leaned over to me as the applause died down and whispered, "Don't look so sour, Nora. You're lucky we even let you work here. You're the supporting role. Leo is the star. Just keep the books clean and stay out of the photos." "The help," I whispered back. "Exactly," she said, not even looking at me. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just felt that strange, terrifying lightness that comes when you finally decide to stop carrying a weight that was never yours to bear. I waited for the moment Leo was called to the podium to give his visionary speech. I walked up to the stage. The guests thought I was there to give a sisterly toast. My parents looked annoyed, my mother's eyes darting to the PR team as if to say, "Who let her up there?" Leo grinned, leaning into the mic. "And here's my little sister, Nora. She's the one who keeps the lights on while I'm out changing the world." The crowd laughed. I didn't. I reached into my bag and pulled out a heavy, tarnished brass ring with 3 real keys and a small silver USB drive. I set them on the podium. The metallic clank cut through the room like a gunshot. "Since Leo is the face and the vision," I said, my voice projecting with a clarity that surprised even me, "I think it's only fair he handles the reality too. You see, everyone, for 10 years I've been told I'm just the help. And you know what? The help is tired." "Nora, sit down," my father hissed from the front row, his face turning a dangerous shade of purple. I ignored him. I looked at Leo. "These are the keys to the master server, the supply warehouse, and the main office. That USB drive contains the login credentials for the payroll system, which, by the way, has been blocked because I'm the only authorized administrator. Oh, and the liquor license for this very gala? It's in my name. And as of 60 seconds ago, I've officially revoked the company's right to use it." The room didn't just go silent. It snapped. "What are you talking about?" Leo stammered, the visionary mask finally slipping to reveal the confused boy underneath. "I'm retiring, Leo," I said, leaning into the mic so every investor in the room could hear me. "Effective immediately. Since I have no vision and no value, I'm sure you'll have no problem figuring out how to pay the $3 million in vendor debt I've been personally managing. Good luck with the grand opening. I hope the vision pays the staff, because I certainly won't be doing it anymore." I didn't wait for a response. I walked off that stage, through the stunned silence of the ballroom, and out into the cool, sharp Seattle night. Behind me, I could hear the first ripples of chaos, the catering manager shouting about a stopped payment, my mother's high-pitched, frantic questioning, and my father's voice cracking as he called my name. I didn't look back. That night, in my small apartment, I did something I should have done a decade ago. I opened my laptop and clicked cancel on the automatic monthly transfers from my personal savings into the company's operating account. For the first time in my adult life, my bank account didn't drain to zero on the 15th of the month. The fallout was faster than I'd even imagined. Within 48 hours, the Vance empire began to disintegrate. Without my signatures on the vendor contracts, the food deliveries for the hotel's 3 restaurants stopped. Without the master codes I'd locked, the digital room keys stopped working, leaving hundreds of high-profile guests locked out of their suites. And because the liquor license was tied to me, the authorities arrived on Monday morning to shut down the bars. The face of the business had no idea how to fix it. Leo didn't even know the names of our primary suppliers. He didn't know how to access the payroll. He was a king with a golden crown and no kingdom. A week later, my parents showed up at my door. They looked smaller, older, the perfect family illusion finally shattered. My mother's hands were shaking, her manicured nails bitten down to the quick. My father's shoulders were slumped, as if the very air in my quiet apartment was too heavy for him. "Nora," my mother began, her voice cracking, "we're so sorry. We were wrong. We shouldn't have let the story become what it did. We shouldn't have asked you to carry so much alone." My father stepped forward, holding a folder of his own. "We talked. We want to make you a full partner. Your name will be on the building. We'll give you a seat on the board. Please, Nora, the bank is calling in the construction loans. We're losing everything." I looked at them. I looked at the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new life, at the bookshelf I'd finally had time to organize, and at the quiet I had built for myself. "I don't want my name on a building," I said, and for the first time I didn't feel the need to fill the silence that followed. "I have a home now, my own. What I needed was respect and honesty 10 years ago. A deed now is just a bribe to get me back into the basement." "But we're family," my mother pleaded. "Family doesn't erase its own members to make the favorite look taller," I replied. "I'm not angry anymore, but I am done disappearing. If you want to save the business, ask Leo. He's the vision, remember?" When they left, the apartment felt even brighter. This wasn't revenge, it was release. I realized that keeping the peace had just been another way of keeping myself small. Choosing myself didn't break my family, it just finally broke the lie that was holding us together. I've moved to a small town on the Oregon coast now. I spend my mornings running along the shore, the rhythm of my feet on the sand a far better sound than the click of a keyboard. I've started my own consulting firm, helping small businesses build foundations that can actually hold weight. I don't work 80 hours a week anymore. I work for myself, and I only answer to the truth. If you've ever been the one doing all the work while someone else takes the credit, or if you've been written out of your own story by the people who were supposed to protect you, I want you to know something. Walking away isn't a defeat. It's the beginning of your real life. Tell me, have you ever had to walk away from your own family to find yourself? Share your story below. I read every one, and if this chapter of my life resonated with you, hit subscribe. There are more stories coming. Stories about finding your voice, standing your ground, and rewriting what it means to be successful. My name is Nora, and for the first time, the future is entirely mine. And trust me, the view from the front of the house is much better than the one from the service entrance.